Now, Chief Whip of the Senate on Tuesday complained that the legislative proceedings in the upper chamber since the commencement of the 10th Senate are not in conformity with its rules and regulations. Now, Ali Ndume, who represents Borno South on the ticket of the All Progressives Congress APC, made the complaint via a point of order at plenary, invoking Order 54 of the Senate Standing Rules. Now, the lawmaker called the attention of the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, to the alleged unconstitutional manner he had been handling the affairs of the upper chamber since he assumed office. Now, he stated, "There are some things we do in this chamber that are against the rules. Sir, nobody is too big to learn." The Senate President immediately interjected and ruled the Chief Whip out of order as well, he says, as you are coming under Order 54, this is what is written here. I am sorry, leader, we rule you out of order, Akpabio said. Well, Akpabio's response made Ndume to angrily leave the Senate chamber for his office. Oh well. Chaos in the Senate, one would say. Joining us virtually to make sense of this, we have Nick Agule, who is a public affairs commentator. And we do expect Lester Wilcox to also join in the conversation in the course of time. But staying with Nick now. Nick, good morning to you. Here we are again talking about politics in Nigeria and how those that are supposed to uphold law and order seem to be getting at each other's throats. What came to mind when you saw that play out at the assembly ground?
Good morning, Moses, and good morning
Joy.
to your co-host,
Yeah.
and good morning to Joy. Yeah,
Yeah, good morning, Nick.
Joy, you said.
Yes, Joy, yes.
Joy. My last daughter, 15-year-old, is Joy. That's her name. Yes. So good morning to meet you, and good morning to our viewers all across the globe. I'm speaking to you now in Lafia, Nasarawa State. So, to be honest, because I have been on the road, I was not even in the know of what had transpired at the upper legislative chamber, the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Your message to me is actually what made me to read the story and see the drama that played out. And indeed, Nigeria competes with Nollywood for drama, for movie making. You know, so this is the kind of things we see everywhere in Nigeria. Even here in Nasarawa State, where I'm sitting, you know, there are some members of the State House of Assembly that have not been sworn in because the governor organized a sitting of the assembly away from the House of Assembly complex and swore in only legislators that he believed are loyal to him. The rest of the other legislators, a majority of them for that matter, who were elected by the people of Nasarawa State to represent him, have not been sworn in as we speak. And this impunity is being allowed to fester in a place like Nasarawa State, a very important state in Nigeria. So that is kind of drama that happens in Nigeria. And so I'm not surprised that the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is experiencing this same drama. And I mean, let us be clear about this. The president of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, he knows very well that he's sitting on a very hot seat, a really very hot seat, because before he was elected, there was a leadership battle. And I think for the first time in the history of Nigeria Senate, the election of the Senate president was a close battle, a real close battle. And the reason is that a lot of people, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, have the view that Nigeria has currently constituted, all the three leaders of the arms of government, all the leaders of the three arms of government are from the southern part of the country. And so the leader of the executive arm of government is President Tinubu. He's from the southwest. The leader of the legislative arm of government, Senator Akpabio, is from the south-south. And the leader of the judicial arm of government, which is the chief judge of Nigeria, is also from the southwest. So as we are currently constituted in Nigeria, the entire three arms of government in Nigeria are being led by southerners. And there are a lot of northerners who are complaining that this is an anomaly. And the only leeway that they see to correct this is the office of the Senate President of Nigeria, because they cannot correct it via the head of the executive government because he's been elected by Nigerians as a president. They cannot correct it via the Supreme Court leadership because the Chief Judge of Nigeria is supposed to be the oldest serving Supreme Court judge, and he happens to be someone from the southwest.
Well, let me interrupt your thoughts let me interrupt your flow for a bit. Now, is it any different from what we saw in the previous administration? The things you listed now, is it different?
No, it's not different. So at a point in the previous administration, we had the president who was President Buhari was from the north. The head of the judiciary, at some point, not all the time, at some point, was also from the north. Remember the chief judge that I think his hands were forced to resign by his own colleagues at the bench, was from the north. Who was even Senate President during Buhari's time? Have you forgotten who was?
What's his name?
You know,
the name just skip. Goodness gracious!
You know,
I'm sorry. The name just skipped my memory now.
They come and they are so inconsequential. We forget them immediately. They leave office because there is nothing landmark that they achieve. If they achieve something landmark, you'll be using that to remember them. That is how so much inconsequential these guys are. You know, when they come into office, their job when they come into office is to cause crisis instead of doing this thing. But let me tell you one thing. Even the fact that the three arms of government were being led by northerners at some point will not stop northerners from agitating. You know that even when President Buhari spent 8 solid good years as president, there were some northerners in PDP who actually chose a presidential candidate from the north. Do you understand? And let me not even say northerners, because PDP is made up of northerners and southerners and all that. They chose Atiku Abubakar, not only from the north, but a Fulani man like President Buhari to be their presidential candidate. So for those people, they were prepared that the north should hold on to power at the presidency for 16 years.
Ahmed Lawan. That's the name I was trying to.
Ahmed Lawan.
Yeah, that's the name.
Yes, Ahmed Lawan.
Yeah, go ahead.
You are very correct. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, a very inconsequential figure. Ahmed Lawan from Borno State was Senate President, and that is the man that has got an infamous Supreme Court judgment, a judgment that even the Supreme Court themselves have been unable to explain to Nigerians how they returned Ahmed Lawan to the Senate. And that is one part of the Nollywood, film making that we see in Nigeria. A Supreme Court passed judgment. Till today, they can't explain how they came about making Ahmed Lawan a senator of the Federal Republic. So back to the point I was making, regardless of the fact that at some times during President Buhari's time, all the leaders of the three arms of government were from the north, will not stop the northerners from agitating under the current situation. So that is President Akpabio's main problem. He himself knows that he's sitting on a hot seat. And now, this attackation is not coming from an opposition senator. It's coming from his own Senate chief whip, a principal officer of the Senate. And you can imagine that Senator Ndume, I'm not holding forth for him, but he would have tried to take on these matters with his president, with the president of the Senate, in-house, indoors, for him to bring this thing to the floor of the National Assembly before the international community and Nigerians inclusive. He must have tried to resolve the matter indoors, in-house, and he was not. And I can assure you that what has happened now, who knows what the end result is going to be, but Senator Akpabio himself knows that he's sitting on a very shaky foundation.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. Okay. This question is, I mean, Ali Ndume, you know, was not even done with his speech when he was interrupted and, you know, and ruled out of order by the president of the Senate. Do you think this is because the Senate president already knew what he was going to talk about, had an idea what he wanted to, you know, rant about, and so he decided to cut him, and he decided to cut him short?
Very much so. Very, very much so. You are very correct in your thinking about this. It is the same thoughts that I have. The Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, sensing what the Chief Whip, Senator Ndume, also from Borno State, was about to table before the Senate, he decided to cut him short. Basically, he shut him up. He shut him up, and that is why Senator Ndume was not happy that his right to free speech, his right to raise Order 54 as a senator of the Federal Republic was infringed upon by the Senate President. And that is what made him to stage the walkout. And of course, the Senate leader, the Senator Okpayemi Bamidele, had to step in to save the situation by saying, oh, let us go into closed door. And when the Senate goes into closed doors, that means they send every other person who is not a senator, including the staff of the National Assembly, out of the chambers so that they can sit and talk as senators alone. And you know that it is always crisis talks when they go into that. There are two things that they do when they go into that closed door session, either to sort out a crisis among themselves or carry out some of these their schemes that are against the good of Nigerians that they are representing. These are the only two reasons they go into that closed door session. So they went into that closed door session. Whatever they spoke there, nobody knows. But I can assure you that this battle has not ended. It has only started.
Yes, the battle has not ended, and it seems like it's going to get even worse if care is not taken.
Yes, absolutely.
It's going to get worse.
Depends on what It depends on what the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, is willing to Sorry, are you with me?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yes. So I agree with you totally that the battle hasn't ended. This battle is going to rage on, and the end of the battle is going to be dependent on what Senate President Godswill Akpabio is willing to.
Okay, let me paint a scenario now. Let's see. The recently sacked Senator Elisha Abo, who was sacked, has blamed his predicament on the president of the Senate. He has said that it was because Godswill Akpabio we had issues with him. That was what led to him being sacked as a senator representing his constituency. Now, this further points to light the discord between the Senate president and some senators from the north. Do you think, how long do you think it will take before the gunpowder that he's on now would explode. And would he have the backing of the president, you know, in the long run?
So two things there. The first thing is that Senator Abo from Adamawa State, he has lost the first round of his electoral, his judicial contest to his electoral victory to represent the good people of Adamawa State. And he automatically says this is the handiwork of his own Senate president. I am not in a position to confirm that. I have no fact to back anything I say on that. These are Senator Abo's words. I also just read them off the press as he has uttered them. It could be whatever has been happening in the Senate between him and the Senate president. I know that he has been taking opposing views to the Senate president on the floor of the Senate. And it could be his own imagination that, oh, because I have been taking my own independent views, this is what is leading to the Senate president trying to do away with me. It may also be his own fantasy about the whole thing. It could also be the reality. Whatever be the case, I have no knowledge of what is happening, and we can only wait to see where the next contest we head to, because for the office of the Senate, the tribunal of first instance is the state electoral tribunal, and then the matter ends at the appeal court. So they are going to head to appeal court, and let us see what will happen at the appeal court. If the appeal court also takes him down already as a senator, I think he can go away.
If I'm not mistaken,
sorry?
If I'm not mistaken, I think he has lost at the appeal court already. So he's out from the appeal court. Yes.
This judgment was the judgment of the appeal court?
Of the appeal court, yes.
Okay. If the judgment was that of the appeal court, that means he's no longer a senator of the Federal Republic, because that is the court of final instance for senatorial elections. They don't go to the Supreme Court. You know, so that means he's not a senator of the Federal Republic.
Oh, yes.
So I don't know. I have not read the judgment. So okay. I don't know if his opponent was declared as the victor. If his opponent was not declared, then they will have to do another election.
Johanna. Johanna has been declared as the victor. Now, President Tinubu's, let's look at President Tinubu's position or possible position in all of this. We know that during the screening of the ministers, we saw a situation whereby the Senate, the President of the Senate would, you know, there were times that he went to consult with the President of the nation and then came back to say, okay, let us allow this. You know, he seemed to be doing the bidding of the President, you know, but do you think that he has, I asked this question again, I know I asked this earlier. Do you think that Godswill Akpabio has the backing of the President? Don't forget, over the weekend, he was given a title in Yewa land as a Fiwagboye of Yewa land. Fiwagboye basically means one who got the crown with his attitude. All right? So he seemed to be, if you look at that title given to him, and then his relationship with the President and how he got to become the President of the Senate, a school of thought would say he's doing the bidding of the President. Do you think he's like he's like the knife with which, or the cane with which the President is, you know, dealing with some people that might have had issues with him? Don't forget that Elisha Abo, a certain time during the previous administration, fell out with the wife of the President now when they were sitting on a committee, and the President, Elisha Abo made some insulting statements, made insulting statements at Senator Remy Tinubu. And then even the president at the time had to come into the matter and say, look, don't insult my wife. Does this seem like, getting back at him and other people?
Yeah, you've raised a couple of issues, and I will take time to respond to them one after the other. The immediate one you raised, which is the altercation that Senator Abo had with his then colleague, Senator Remi Tinubu, who now happens to be our first lady. Yeah, Senator Abo is a firebrand character. Remember that he became famous. These people become famous for the wrong reasons. He became famous when he went to beat up a shopkeeper somewhere in Abuja, beat her up mercilessly for simply telling him that certain things are not allowed to be done in the shop. I can't remember the exact details of that word. And
Yes,
of course,
yes.
if we were in a same country, the man would be behind jail now. He would be behind bars, serving out his term. But in Nigeria, he sat pretty as a senator of the Federal Republic. And not only that, he also was able to machinate some electoral victory and return back to the Senate, which the judicial arm of government has corrected now. So that's the kind of character that he is. He's too firebrand, possibly too much firebrand for the hallowed chambers of the Senate of Nigeria. Whether what now happened during that altercation is what is getting back at him, I have no idea about that. I don't know. It's possible that now that Senator Remi Tinubu is in power, the husband is the president, and Senator Akpabio doesn't also like Senator Abo's face that much, they can conspire and do him in. And whether it's possible for them to conspire and do him, of course it's possible. On the floor of that same Senate, we heard how the husband of the then president of the Court of Appeal stood up and said he influenced his wife to deliver judgment to his colleagues, senators, and all of that. That is Nigeria for you. Nollywood script, every day, every time. So we cannot say it's not impossible. It is, of course, possible that they could have conspired to do Senator Abo in. Now, talking about whether the Senate President Godswill Akpabio has the support of President Tinubu, insane crimes. Nigeria is so sick. If we had a little modicum of sanity, someone like Senator Akpabio should not even near the hallowed chambers of the Senate. This is a man for the prisons. You understand? This man was a governor. There were all stories of corruption. He became minister of Niger Delta, all sorts of corruption stories against him. Even a member of the board, is a member of the board of Niger Delta or somebody. There's a lady that came out and said, oh, I was removed from my job because Senator Akpabio asked me to sleep with him and I refused. Elsewhere, where there is sanity, all those things put together will be pushing Senator Akpabio closer to the prison walls than anything near the National Assembly. So ordinarily, President Tinubu shouldn't support him. But there's an anomaly here. The big anomaly here is that the executive arm of government has so much power. So those who fashioned the democracy that we copied, the United States, they now brought in the National Assembly, the legislature, to act as a check on the all-powerful executive arm of government. So the executive arm of government shouldn't have a hand in the emergence of a senator or a Senate principal officer at all, because I give this analogy. This is the analogy. You give somebody a Ferrari. A Ferrari is a powerful car, so much power. You now give him the throttle, but you also have the brake pedal inside that Ferrari. So that when he's throttling the Ferrari too fast, he now uses the brake pedal to slow it down. In Nigeria, that brake pedal is meant to be the National Assembly, while the throttle is in control of the executive. Now, the first thing that the executive does is they go and disable the brake pedal, totally pocket the National Assembly, and they have that throttle with them. If you have a throttle in a car without brake pedal, what is the result of that car? That car is going to have an accident. And that is why our democracy is accidented. That is why we're not making progress. There is no way that the president should have a hand. When on national TV, I was hearing supposedly educated people in Nigeria talking about, oh, the Senate leadership will only emerge in accordance with President Tinubu. President Tinubu is in France, he will come back. I was like, are you kidding me? Where are these people coming from? The Senate is meant to be totally independent of the executive arm of government. The Senate can actually remove the president of the country. And that is the fear that the president should have in his mind before he would deliver good governance to us. And we are not doing these things. So we went and bought a Ferrari and we are not driving it in accordance with the manufacturer specification. Oh, it's an accident that we are having, and we have been having this accident.
All right, Nick, do you think this action, what do you think of this action generally? You know, as regards the personality and the character of the member of Senate that's talking about Ndume, and secondly, he has been acclaimed or allegedly acclaimed to be quite controversial, you know, in the Senate. Do you think this is the reason the president is not, you know, willing to listen to whatever he has to say? And what do you think the potential consequence of this action, you know, would be? I mean, what would be the public's perception of the Senate and its credibility after all of this issues around?
I am not a fan of Senator Ali Ndume. I am not a fan of his because there has been allegations, and very strong ones for that matter, of his links to some of the terrorists that have been marauding all over the country. And he has not sufficiently, in my own view, cleared his name of that. And of course, I was talking about insanity. If we were in a sane country, someone like Senator Ndume should be heading towards the prison walls or be behind them, actually, and nothing near the hallowed chambers of the Senate. So this is the kind of Nigeria that we have, where those in the executive arm of government have questions over their character, their morality, their integrity. Those who are in the Senate, House of Rep, have all sorts of questions over their heads. If it's not certificate, it's one thing or the other they did in the past. How can you have a country with characters like this in charge, and we expect that the country is going to do well? You know, so for me, I'm not his fan. I don't cherish him. Left for me, he shouldn't be in the Senate. But that is not the reason for his current squabbles with the Senate president. That's not his reason. He has his reasons. And I think part of those reasons will be the fact that Senator Akpabio, he himself knows that he didn't have the backing of a lot of these northern senators because they are fighting for that seat. They want to grab that seat. And this could be the reason why this squabble is happening. I'm not aware. I don't know. As a public affairs analyst, I look at happenings around the country and I take my view about them. And my view may be totally wrong, or it may actually be right on the money. So I don't know what the issues are, but what I know is that this matter has not been resolved. This matter is going to linger on, and what the result is going to be, only God knows.
All right then.
All right. Thank you very much, Nick. Stick around for the next topic. All right. Up next on VOP this morning, former Minister of Aviation draws the AGF, Mr. Fagbemi's attention to the matter of recent removal of leadership of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the EFCC, Nigeria's anti-corruption agency. Now let's talk about this when we return. Stay with us.